Okay. Well, thanks so much for the opportunity to talk with you here today about Kentucky and maybe more specifically why I've entered this race here in 2014 when the election is in 2015. And I've been a long believer in marathon campaigns, and that is where the candidate for an office actually makes themselves available to the voters, and Kentucky's a very wide state. So in this campaign I'll be going full-time, city to city, county to county, both introducing myself but at the same time listening to the people in the communities about when a new administration comes about in December 2015 in our great Commonwealth of Kentucky. What are the areas that should be worked on first? Areas that they might be scratching their head. Why hasn't this been addressed for 10 or 20 years? And trying to collect those ideas so we can move the state forward. My background is in the last 30 years has been directly in economic development. I'm a civil engineer by education. Sheila and I have raised our 4 children. We live on a corn and soybean farm in rural Jefferson County. But my career experience has been as a civil engineer for the first dozen years of my career, where I've worked across the state: roads, bridges, water, sewer, mine land reclamation in Letcher County. I had an apartment in Whitesburg for a while. So I've seen a lot of Kentucky and understand the great parts of Kentucky and other areas that we have challenges where we need to try to overcome those. But my background in economic development for the last 30 years has been building buildings for manufacturers and distributors and office users, and getting to understand how they decide whether they're going to stay in a state, whether they're willing to move into Kentucky, how they decide when they're going to expand their business, whether to stay where they are or expand their search to other locations. And what I've heard over that time is generally when they have their consultants and executives try to figure out where to go, and business owners, that they love Kentucky. They love the fact that our power is low cost. They love we're right in the middle of the eastern half of the U.S. They love we're a state with a lot of outdoor activities. It's the best for that. They love our transportation systems, pretty good roads throughout most of the state. So there's a lot of things, and also we're known for a strong work ethic in Kentucky. And that's why, some of the big employers have talked about Ford and Toyota about, they've expanded here because they've met their production goals and quality goals, efficiency goals, so we have a good reputation, our people, here in Kentucky. But where we fall short is when they look at Frankfort. They see in Frankfort a very old platform, an old tax structure that hasn't been touched in so long that it's no longer attractive to business. They see things like inventory tax, which Kentucky is one of only 4 or 5 states with that, which says to businesses, bring your jobs, but don't bring your goods. And they're like, how can, what does that mean? And a lot of other tough areas, high personal income tax compared to the states around us. And so why is Kentucky the outlier on these things? And it's making it increasingly difficult to overcome Frankfort, but we have all these other advantages. And if we can get Frankfort to take this old platform and build a new, more attractive platform that's with the times, I think we can be the most competitive state in the country for new jobs and for jobs that are going to grow here, and it'd also be a good place to start a business. Because so many states have added, for small businesses, have added areas in the tax code, tax credits for the start of small business, where one person has an idea and joins with another person and says, let's start this business, but areas to kind of encourage them. And we need to bring those ideas to Kentucky. And if we do, I'm certain we can be the most attractive state in the country with all these other advantages that we have. So I'm a business guy. I'm not a Frankfort politician. I did serve 2 terms on the city council there in Jefferson County, and so I understand those local issues. But I've been a business guy my life, and what I'd hope to be able to do in offering myself in this race is to bring business principles to Frankfort to more efficiently spend dollars to help more people in this state. So I'm out touring the state full time for 2014 and 2015 as well, so I can talk to anyone that would like to talk about what's possible here in Kentucky. Yeah. Well, last summer in July, a couple of people that had talked about possibly running for governor here in Kentucky came to me, and both for various reasons decided not to run. One that was a congressman said, Hal, when the media calls, just please don't shut the door. And then another one who was a person in central Kentucky that had talked about possibly running, a banker, came to me and said, Hal, I really think you and Sheila should thoughtfully, prayerfully think about running for this office in Kentucky. You have the business background, the management background, the experience. You've been all involved in education reform in the state, pushing for that to improve things for our kids. You ought to look at it. So on March the 4th here, just a few weeks ago, Casey Crosby, running for lieutenant governor, and myself filed an intent to run here in Kentucky. And ever since then, I've been out meeting with people across the state. Actually, in this short time, I've been through 36 counties, but we're going to just continue on and then circle back again and come back again and come back again. And so it's been very encouraging.
You've given us your basic solution for how to create jobs. You agree that we must move away from our dependency on coal to have a real future?
Well, certainly one of the great areas of wealth in Kentucky has been our natural resources. Coal primarily, oil and gas as well. It's been an area that's brought in a lot of fresh dollars into Kentucky that supported individuals, supported families, and then those families have, by buying in town, have supported other businesses. And my goal is that will continue. Now, will the jobs come back to where they were at one point? There's a lot of disagreement on that point. I don't know if we'll get back to that exact point, but still, it stands that it's a very important natural resource in Kentucky, and it's important not just to eastern and western Kentucky. It's important to all Kentuckians, because one of our real drawing cards for jobs to come to Kentucky is that our power is very low cost. We're one of the lowest cost states in the country. We're about 25% less than the average in the U.S. So to hold on to that, coal is a very important piece of that, and if we lose that, all Kentuckians will hurt as a result if we end up looking like Connecticut. Now, going forward, we need to develop other areas as well, and coal is very, very important to us, and we need to do everything we can to push back on the federal level. And as natural gas prices rise as they are now, coal's returning to being a competitive fuel, which is tremendous for our state, but. Like any economy, it's always good to have diversification, that we can grow our tourism base. We have a beautiful state. If you're an outdoors person, there's no better state to come to than Kentucky. But we have a minuscule budget for tourism compared to what other states are doing. So we have tremendous opportunities here in Kentucky. I'll call them untapped opportunities to grow our economy in all types of jobs in all types of areas. And one of the benefits of that is that as not only for ourselves but our children, that they can use their talents and abilities in areas that they like to work, that they have a natural affinity for, that if they want to start a business over here or over here, that they have multiple opportunities. And I look forward to that in the future, but coal needs to be a primary focus.
Let me ask you, what do you think the new war on poverty that the old war did?
Well, I thought it was real interesting in what I've heard about the event Friday here in Martin County, where Governor Huckabee was here, that the focus wasn't so much on a big government-run program, but a relationship program, person to person, helping people find their way into jobs. Now, what's important about that is we have to grow jobs. Those jobs have to be available. But from a relationship standpoint, that's something we need to do and needs to happen on the local level. We need to have people that are interested in starting businesses, and that's largely going to come from within. That's exactly right. In Eastern Kentucky, I've talked to person after person. This is our home. We love living here. Wouldn't think about moving. Well, we have to make sure that those opportunities are available for them to start a business and find a job that matches up with what they want to do.
Do you think the coal taxes should stay here in the area where the coal fields are, or be spent in other areas of the state as well, such as that?
Well, on the coal severance tax, which they've talked about 50% comes back to the areas that coal is severed. If that's what was going to happen, they should have called it something other than a coal severance tax. So it's only natural in the naming of it that it would go back to the areas that it's severed from. And so my goal is that we look at the pieces that are not coming back to these areas, and how can we use that to grow the economic development in areas that the coal has been severed from.
Let me tell you, an example of what I'm talking about is recently, the news in this area was about coal severance tax being used to help refurbish roads. Many of us are UK fans, but unfortunately, the vast majority can't afford to travel to Lexington for UK. So they'll never benefit from it. And so a lot of people in this area feel that all the money that comes from the area should come back into it. Some people feel that in the long run, it will come back, because once the coal fields are shut down, then the majority of people in this area will be on some type of government assistance, and that's the way it will come back into it. Unfortunately, that's the worst way it can come back into it.
Well, I've got a group here that I need to get with, but I really appreciate the opportunity to talk tonight, Donald. Really good to meet you. Okay, thank you so much.